Welcome. I'm Alice Alicia Jones, and this is another one of my series of Living Consciously. On the last time, a couple days ago, on Monday, we ended on talking about beliefs, talking about how beliefs can limit you. And that is the title of today's presentation is how your beliefs hold you back. So, effectively, the first thing that I wanted to mention was that beliefs basically control you, whether you know it or not, because effectively, and when you talk about the levels of consciousness, the scale that man arises in any given lifetime, it's only 5 points. It's on a scale of 1, typically 10, but starting at 1 to 1,000. And from 700 to 1,000 is where God lives. Those are the measurements of unconditional love. And that comes from a wonderful book by David Newton, MD, PhD, who has since deceased, but wonderful, wonderful gentleman. Just did over 10,000 experiments to figure out the levels of consciousness. If you don't own it, I strongly recommend that it become part of your personal metaphysical library. And I have it's one of the books that I refer to continuously. In my lexicon, where your beliefs come from is your parents, first and foremost, because they're the greatest influencers in your life. And then as you grow, they come from your peers. And then there's something called nature versus nurture. And as part of nature, I actually will credit your past lives because you may come in with a belief of certain fears, of certain things that you absolutely are afraid of. And those fears are going to show up, they're going to manifest in different things that your life is going to reflect for you. And certainly, if you need a lesson in this lifetime, if you signed up for a lesson, that lesson is going to show up over and over and over. What happens to you is that the beliefs basically box you in. They limit what you are willing to experience. They limit the adventurous part of you. And effectively, just going back to what I had said earlier about the fact that on the average, man only goes up 5 points in a given lifetime. One of the statistics that I read that really made a huge impression on me was the fact that man effectively only um, received, uh, I think, 200 years ago, the less information in his lifetime. And when I say his, I'm talking about his or her lifetime, than is in a Sunday New York Times newspaper. So effectively, think about it. A Sunday New York Times might be an inch, inch and a half thick, but there is more information in there than a man or a woman would have received in their entire lifetime. So effectively, your beliefs absolutely do a number on you. if they are something that you cannot at all figure out that there could possibly be another way. And as effectively as we grow in consciousness, as we grow in our understanding of what is possible for us as human beings, then we can overcome just about any difficulty that we're faced with because our understanding, granted, may be limited, but effectively, if we start listening to the voice of spirit, and when I say spirit, I'm talking about the highest beings of light. I'm not talking about any type of voices that you might hear that cause you to do harm to another, to cause you to do injury to another, to cause you to want to retaliate. That is not the voice of spirit. It may be a spiritual being, but it is not an enlightened one. Um, I feel that effectively, this was the one of the things that I've run into is that people absolutely have so many experiences, they're so afraid of sharing. And because they really do not want to be ridiculed. Hi, Karina. Welcome. Um, so you really have to think about, really carefully consider what your belief system is and how it limits you. One of the limitations that comes in typically for most people is the fear of success. And it seems like everybody should want to be successful, but with success comes responsibility. With success comes more demands on you. And with success also may come the feeling that you are showing up members of your family, members of your peer group. Um, so effectively, people will personally hold themselves back because they don't want to do that. They do not want to make others feel uncomfortable in their presence. Or worse, they don't want others to start questioning them and asking, threatening them. I mean, just think of the what commonly happens to anybody that comes forward that challenges the status quo. When the children of Parkland High School decided that the adults weren't doing enough and they were going to get organized, look at what happened to them. 18-year-olds were getting death threats. Death threats. 18-year-olds were being accused of being actors, even going back to Sandy Hook. Um, I, that how many of the parents that started to, to vehemently fight for gun control, they were accused of this all being phony, of this all being just a setup to eliminate gun control. So effectively, it just astonishes me what it is that can hold us back. Fear of success is definitely one of those items. Do you want to show up your family members? No, but every single person on this planet came in with their own agenda. Just because you have something to say that is maybe in direct contradiction to what another person had to say does not mean that you do not have the right to state your truth. So please don't allow any kind of hesitancy on your part to hold you back. There's another thing that I have just recently run into that, well, this is called seeds of doubt. There is a tremendously easy way to spread doubt about what is happening. Just repeat something over and over and over. You can test this yourself. Spread a rumor about yourself and see how far that rumor goes and see who then calls you about it and asks you about it. For example, when I was preparing for this morning, I thought of like, what's an innocuous rumor that you could spread about yourself? You could say something like, yes, COVID has taught me something, something different that I've never learned before. And that is that the things that I thought were important are no longer important to me. So I'm selling everything. I'm buying a large tract of land, either in the Midwest or in the South, where I can get land cheaper, and I'm going to make it into a wildlife sanctuary. And you might specify a particular animal that you want to make it a sanctuary for. Could be tigers, could be lions, could be bears, could be elephants. Um, God knows the animals that are being rescued from neglected zoos around the world are constantly making the news. And just see, you spread the rumor, you knew that that what you were going to do, but just see how far that goes. And so uh, and I do totally recommend that you watch a video. It's a documentary, but it moves very quickly and the graphics are amazing. It's called Merchants of Doubt. And I'll give you an easy way to remember the title. Think of Merchant of Venice. Almost every school person that's gone through high school knows that the plot line of Merchant of Venice. He was allowed, he wanted, the merchant wanted as a vendetta to take a pound of flesh from the person that he had the vendetta against. But effectively, he was stopped only because the young attorney, who was Portia, said to him, I believe that it was her that did it. It's been a gazillion years since I've read the play, or since I've seen it. That yes, he was allowed to take his pound of flesh, but he could not take one drop of blood. So that put a stop on what it was that he was going to do. And unfortunately, um, so think of merchants of doubt. And what they cover is how to sow doubt about anything. And what they take is the tobacco industry. They take it and they show how their research proved that the tobacco industry knew in the 50s and in the 60s that not only was nicotine addictive, but also that um, cigarettes were cancer inducing. And but they, even in the 70s, they came in and they lied about it. So by lying, by just continuously lying, spreading lies about something, you can convince anybody of anything. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter how outrageous it is. Repeat a lie often enough, you absolutely will convince people of it. Then they moved on from the um, tobacco industry and they moved on to climate change. And they showed this one example really kind of like stood out in my mind how the same person who was representing the scientists for climate change was also employed at the same time by the oil and gas industry, and which is a huge conflict of interest. He's arguing both sides of the coin, but nevertheless, it's so worth investing your time to watch Merchants of Doubt. My sister Mary, the one who lives in Wisconsin, who had 50 degrees yesterday, um, while we basked in I think 86 degrees in Virginia. Um, she's the one who turned me onto it, and I strongly recommend that you see it. Going back to your belief system, besides the fear of success, the other thing that you fear is what I call WWTNT. What will the neighbors think? Substitute anything you want for neighbors. What will my friends think? What will my family think? What will my peers think? What will my colleagues think? What will my fellow scientists think? When you want to come in with something that bucks the system. I know when I went maybe 5 years ago to hear Brian Weiss, he said he wrote his book, Many Lives, Many Masters, and had it fully finished for 10 years prior to releasing it because he knew that that it would never be accepted by his peers. But that book was one of the books that literally fell off the shelf, landed at my feet. I picked it up and read three-quarters of it right there, right in the bookstore, before I walked out and bought it. And I was just absolutely, that was my first introduction to reincarnation because effectively, coming from a Polish Catholic tradition, there's no way that reincarnation was part of my religious background. And hi, Charmian, welcome. And oh, this is Charlene, welcome. Um, the I literally felt that that book started to um, reinforce every single thing that was inside of me that started to doubt that my faith was the only thing that I could hold on to. That was the belief system that was going to, because I was born into it, I literally, again, thought I would live and die in the Catholic faith. I didn't really recognize how limiting it was as I continued to get more experiences. I can remember the first chink in the armor of the belief in my religion as the one true religion was the fact that when I was 21, I was had a summer job in the Catskill Mountains at a hotel, that resort that was called the Windsor Hotel. And the family who ran it, the woman was my boss. I was in the front desk area, and she was the nicest, kindest, most gracious woman, one of the and most incredibly gifted, but generous of spirit and genuinely caring for every single person she met. But she was Jewish. And according to my faith, she was condemned to hell. And so I started to think, How is this possible? How is this possible? So I literally, that was the first chink in my armor of I will live and die as a Catholic, and many others after that. Let's see if there's anything else. Oh yeah, this is one that I know holds people back, but this is that they don't want to be exposed as a fraud. They don't want to step forward with what they know because they don't feel they know enough. Um, I can remember one of my the things that my husband told me. He was my boss when I first started in real estate, and when I became so insecure about I don't think I know enough. How can I possibly answer all their questions? He said to me, Alice, no matter how little you think you know, they know less. And he gave me that as an advice. And me being who I was, I know that anytime I was asked a question that I didn't know the answer to, I would always just tell them, I don't know, I'll get back to you. And so that got me out of a sticky situation. I didn't try to bluff my way. Didn't try to say anything that I knew I was not there. Not that was not true. I know I'm going over my 15 minutes. I have promised myself that I was going to stop at 15 minutes. Haven't done it, but anyway, I'm going to end. Um, now with the live stream and continue this same thinking on Friday. How do beliefs hold you back? Thank you all for watching, and I will see you on Friday.